Okay, hi everyone. It is October 30th, almost Halloween. Helm Dev Meeting 2025. Um, we have at least one announcement. Matt.
Yes, I just want to have everybody on the same page here. The Helm 4 release is coming up, and so I just wanted to make sure everybody knows the plans and what's going on with Helm 4 and 3.19.1. So 3.19.1 should be going out on the second Wednesday, which happens to be the Wednesday of KubeCon. Cut that just along with V4. V4, we have to have a release candidate phase. So anytime we have a major minor go out, we have a release candidate phase. The release candidate will be cut on Monday. And then we'll announce it to people. We can find if there's any regressions or anything in it. It would be wonderful to catch those ahead of time. We can cut more than one release candidate. And then the plan is to cut it on the Wednesday of KubeCon. Um, and it will actually go live as part of the talk that day. Everything will be done beforehand. We're not going to actually do the build or anything during the thing, but we're going to cut it that morning. And so that's the plan. So we've got to get stuff in. We've got till Monday to get any changes in. I am thinking I might cut another beta. We have beta 2 out right now because Terry has a change that moves us off of Gox, which is no longer supported for doing cross compilation to Go Releaser. And I got to go review his pull request. If that all comes in, I want to do a beta with that before we do any release candidates with it. And so that would be the only thing. So get those changes in, find those regressions if we can, and that's where we're at.
Awesome. I have a question based on that. Quick one. Not really
Yeah.
based on that, but just I knew this. We've set a date for the 4.0.0 milestone to be November 12th, as you noted. Um, Should we now, we had the 4.0.1, basically the next patch and the next for V4 minor release date TBD based on the release schedule. Now that
Uh,
we have it,
so
Kristen, should we?
we have a normal schedule. So I would say 4.1 is going to go out on the third Wednesday in January because it's always the second Wednesday of the month, except January. Because
Yeah.
we have a minor come
Right.
out in January, you have to do a release candidate before a minor. And if you trace back the second Wednesday, it's usually or the I'm sorry, the Monday before we do release candidates the week before and the Monday in that week. So you got about 10 days of release candidate in
Right.
case there's a problem. That usually falls over the holiday break, so it falls to the third Wednesday in January.
Okay. So that'll be
And
the
so that's when
21st.
the 4.1 would come out.
Oh, the 4
The
dot, sorry, the 4.1.
Yeah, the 4.1.0 would come out
Right.
the
Right.
third
Right.
Wednesday in January.
Right.
The 4.0.1 would come out the second Wednesday in December, unless we decide to pull it forward because we have some regressions we have to deal with.
Right. Okay. I just updated.
One thing as well on the release, before I forget, right now Get Helm 3 will download the latest version of Helm, including Helm 4 when we release it.
Okay, so we do need to update those scripts so that just gets Helm 3 and
Yes,
doesn't get yep,
I
good
got
call.
PRs out there to do that. But we just probably want to not forget about them before we do cut the release because
Can you add
Very
that
good idea.
PR?
Thank you.
Can you add that PR to the milestone?
Yeah.
it is, I believe. I think I got double check.
Okay, great. And then sorry, you said which day in December was it? I know it's on the calendar or
Second Wednesday.
right, the
Just
second
just
Wednesday.
always remember it's the
Just like
second
normal.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
unless it's January, then it's the third Wednesday.
Right,
That's it.
right.
I have no idea what the dates are.
Yeah, for the patch, I mean. We're
Yeah.
just gonna go
The
with the
patch is
normal
second
schedule.
Wednesday.
Yeah, just the
Second Wednesday
normal.
is the schedule. It's
That's
always the
perfect.
second Wednesday.
Yep,
So
yep.
we do this years ago. We were requested to have a regular known release documented cadence so that people who
Yep.
depend on Helm could know and plan for this. And at that time, we decided on the second Wednesday of the month, except for January because it didn't work. It would be the third Wednesday of the month. And so that is just always the date we target for releases because it's that known cadence for enterprises and others who like to have an idea what that is.
Great. Yep. All right. Those are all dated. Thank you. Um, So, okay, so the first discussion is I actually just put Scott/Terry, but maybe this is like, would you actually, is Terry on? No. So perhaps, okay, so this is really just a very quick chat. Does anyone have very strong opinions about whether we should continue using yarn and yarn lock with Docusaurus versus NPM and package lock? Yeah, probably not, right? Yeah, okay, so we're just gonna go with Docusaurus's like out of the box standard for now until further notice. That was just a note there. Um, okay, so Matthias, you're on, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to note? Do you want to bring up this
Sure.
proposal?
Yeah, sure. Um, so I described all the details in the issue, but essentially, we are building this feature in Flux. I mean, this optimization actually, where we detect that new Flux objects were enqueued in the controller, and we cancel ongoing reconciliations for that object, because the reason for why the object was requeued could be a fix for what is holding the current reconciliation, right? Like, so imagine we have there's a customization running and it's waiting for deployment to go up, and the problem was a bug in the configuration. So we watch the source, let's say a Git repo, and then the user pushes some change to the Git repo to fix the configuration. Then that should be able to cancel the the useless work that the customized controller is doing right now, right? So we want to have the same for Helm in Helm controller. And the way we are well, the feature request is introducing a context for wait operations in the Helm SDK. So when this context is canceled, the wait operations are will return an error and bail out everything, like stop the Helm action from running. Yeah, this is essentially the proposal, and I have also a draft PR without any tests, just the actual code, which is very small. So if anybody has any inputs on this or in the PR itself,
Okay,
uh,
so
yeah.
I'll give you my first feedback here, and that is tests. If you could get some tests on it, because I know Rob's going to come back and go, "Where are them tests?" We got some people who, we like to have tests on our stuff. So if you could get tests into it, the other thing will be timing. If it's probably not ready to be reviewed and we're comfortable merging it by tomorrow, then it'll have to wait until the 4.1. I see this is a backwards compatible change, which means it's something we can do. But then the release date for this change, if it doesn't go in the next probably 36 hours, is probably the third Wednesday in January, just so you know.
Right. Yeah, I was expecting that this was
Okay.
only gonna make it in. I mean, I could make time myself to work on this until tomorrow, but I'm not sure if anybody on the maintainer side would be able to do the same. So I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna find some time to do homework over the weekend because I'm lagging in a few things. So if you get the changes in, feel free to ping me on Slack.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's really just tests missing, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's the big thing. Worst case scenario is you get into good shape 4.1, which is in third Wednesday in January is when we'd release it. Okay. There's other hands up. So I'll let you moderate, Scott.
Thanks. I think it's Joe first, then Austin.
Sure. So I was curious what unrolling the context is supposed to look like, because right now, if it just cancels what's in the middle, it'll be release pending state. The resources will have been applied. We're just waiting for them to become ready. What do you expect is going to be the outcome of Helm canceling an operation like this?
So like for example, in the customization case, like let's say there's a value that that I need to change to make the release successful, and the Helm controller would be able to like pick this up like while the release is running. It would be able to observe that a value changed and and like bail out the current execution of the release to start a new one.
Okay, but
So
if it just fails, because like I said, all it's doing now is waiting most likely. Within the first few seconds, it's done all the work it's going to do, and then it just waits for things to actually become happy. Um, the the last release state is going to be a release or upgrade pending. It's not complete. Flux itself does not like it when it's in that state. So are we expecting it to roll back? Are we expecting it to set some other release state?
that's a good question. Like
Okay.
we do all sorts, like it's very complex, the way Flux deals with
Yeah.
the release state and everything. So that's definitely something I will probably need to figure out. But
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
But on the Helm side, I mean, my only question is on the Helm side, what is the expectation? Do we just leave it in whatever state it's in at that moment?
I was
think-
assuming that sorry.
yeah, I'm just gonna butt in here, Mateus. With I think the short answer is, I think what we're looking to emulate with the SDK behavior for the wait operations would be a similar outcome to when somebody hits Control C on the CLI during an upgrade because they know they want to, make a change to a value and then do another upgrade. We want to enable that same exact workflow in Helm controller managing many concurrent Helm releases via GitOps workflow. And the so the pending release would show up in the status on this reconciliation, right? And Helm controller's reconcile of Helm release for this moment would end. It would be naturally requeued. And then whatever our state machine logic is that's configured for handling a failed release in pending state, whatever the user declares is what would happen. So if they have a rollback strategy, then that would occur. If they don't use the rollback strategy and are using some of the other ways of handling this state, then it would just do an upgrade forward.
Okay. Can I just recommend? Okay, I know Austin has his hand raised. Just before we move on from that, could I just recommend that you add that context to the PR? I think that's really good context to add,
Sure,
Or
sure.
the issue.
or rather,
About
yeah, one or the other. Yeah.
about the expectations
Yeah.
of the state the release will be left in when this happens, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Like just a quick question, like if the wait operation errors out with context canceled right now, like with timeouts. Yeah, actually, same thing as timeout, right? Like there's a timeout already. Like you can in the current code. So the answer is whatever happens on the timeout.
Current
So
code,
that's
if
the
it,
context
current
to
code, if it
add.
reaches timeout, it goes into a failed state. But it seems like you don't want a failed state, so that's why I was asking.
But that's exactly what's gonna happen right now, right? Like right now without this feature, what's gonna happen is the timeout. So we want to make the timeout come sooner, right? Essentially. So
Okay.
that
Okay, so
is
that does change the expectation then, because that would mean that on a cancellation, we actually have to do work, which is to set it to an error state instead of just canceling.
What? No, like Like
Well,
right now,
if it times out, if we get to if we set the Helm timeout to 5 minutes, and at 5 minutes and 1 second, Helm will update the state of the release to be in an error state.
right?
But if you Control C, it will leave it in a release pending state.
Well, but then maybe like the Control C thing is not actually
Okay.
what we're expecting. Like what we're expecting is right now in Flux, the timeout is reached,
Yeah.
and then like a new reconciliation kicks in at some. We just want to make this faster. Same thing
Sure.
we
No,
already
I get
have.
it.
Yeah.
I get it. I just want to make sure that we understand what the outcome is.
Yeah, same as timeout. Same as time.
Okay, so error. So that would mean there's some additional work needed on the PR, and I'll try to make comments to that effect.
Thanks for that
Wouldn't like
clarification. I think unless I'm gonna suggest that we get out of the weeds of deciding what the end state should be, because that sounds like there has to be a little bit of thinking around that. Um, if that's okay,
does
and,
it
and just
though?
make sure that we
Like because I mean, do if like right now the context reaches a timeout inside the SDK, so you're saying there's more work that needs to be done to change the code to deal with this context getting canceled for another reason that is not timeout?
Yeah, Mateus, maybe zoom out so that we don't eat up all the meeting time because we already have another meeting topic
Okay.
that's significantly more
So
detailed than this.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
suggest we step
Yeah.
into the next topic, not to cut you short, but just I think we've like raised the conversation and it's fairly in our minds, and and that the details of this can probably be worked out
Okay.
on the issue and PR and on Slack.
Yep.
Okay.
Awesome, cool. Thanks.
Um,
Thank you.
You
Okay,
want to let
so
Austin talk? He's been waiting for like a
oh yes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I like
You're good.
thanks,
I'll be super quick. I'm not a Helm maintainer, but I did kind of work on the changes to the Helm weight in Helm v4. It was actually inspired by Flux, funny enough, to use case status. So you'll notice that there's a legacy waiter and the new Helm waiter. I forgot what it's called, but that already uses context, and that uses the same Helm. That uses the same logic for weighting that Flux does, pretty much. And so I don't know exactly how Flux will decide what weight users do, but if you force everyone into the new waiter, then you already have context.
Thanks, Austin. I remember that PR, and thanks for speaking of waiting. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for reminding me, Karen. Okay, so the other topics now, I think I'm really just trying to make sure there's another topic by well, I'll do mine very, very quickly. And perhaps yeah, I guess this is just really probably this is a question for Matt, and we can also like address this on the PR as well. But
what's the question?
there's a question on things like uh our backwards compatibility promise for Helm Create. I think if someone wants to correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past we have allowed updating Helm Create because it's the exact chart output has changed throughout the life cycle of Helm.
It absolutely has. So what are
Yeah.
you looking for though?
Yeah, just verification on that. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we can't do API version v3 of charts because it's entirely not ready to go. But
Right.
at some point in the future, we may be able to do something like that, and we'll figure out how we want to approach that at that time.
Right. That sounds good. Okay. So I'll make a comment on that issue that that person should make that port. Okay. And then do you think we can? Yeah, Matthias, do you want to keep this one rather quick, you think?
I suppose, I mean, yeah, I can try. Okay, so we're looking into implementing Helm 4 in Flux. And like, so I guess we have a few questions. Like, but we're just discussing this now, and so there's an ideal world for us, and we want to know like if it's real or just ideal. And that would be, so we want to support, we cannot break the Flux Helm release v2 API because it's GA, right? So we want to support Helm 4, but still support Helm 3. So and then we brainstormed a few ways to do it and concluded that what would be ideal for us would be if, in order to like, for somebody that is using a chart from Helm v3, without like, they would just like upgrade to whatever Flux version there's support for Helm 4, and they wouldn't have to change anything in their configuration, and it would just like, okay, this is still Helm 3 chart API version 2, right? Like it's chart API v3 in Helm 4, right? So and then they could like opt in to Helm 4 with a spec field in Helm release, so spec dot compatibility mode or something before, and then that would work. I suppose Helm 4 works. It's probably, is it backwards compatible with a chart v2 API? Like,
It is entirely backwards compatible with the Chart v2 API. Well, we think it's entirely backwards compatible. There are some things that have been layered in to it, stuff like server-side apply, and there's some functionality around what you can do there that's changed. But as far as actually generating the charts and all of that, our goal is to keep it backwards compatible because the work we want to do on changes to charts and add new features, we're actually adding Chart API version v3, and that'll happen during Helm 4's life as we run it as an experiment to see what works, what doesn't, those kinds of things. We're enabling that as an experiment along the way. So it's still going to work on the same charts as it did before. There may be some mild differences in stuff like the apply logic that it does, just because we've got features like server-side apply now.
so yeah, right. Like Helm before uses server-side apply, and that would change for
Existing releases will follow the same apply method. So if you have a release which was deployed by Helm 3, then it's necessarily client-side apply, and then you deploy it with Helm 4 SDK, it'll ratchet to client-side apply. If you deploy a new release, it'll default to server-side apply. And there's the specific logic for server-side apply. But to echo what Matt said, I stuck a link in the Zoom chat. Our rationale was that we must be compatible with charts across Helm 3, Helm 4, because otherwise we'll break the ecosystem. So there are edge cases, but the majority of workflows
if we
should continue.
broke the ecosystem somewhere, we would consider it a regression because we still want to support the v2 charts just like we did before.
right.
And regarding the server-side apply example, if you wanted to, for example, have users opt in to new functionality in Helm 4, you could still use, as far as I know, the Helm 4 SDK and just pass the option to not have server-side apply by default. When George made that you can pass flags to have the previous behavior still.
So like you can, with the Helm v4 binary, you would be able to, through a set of flags, specify behaviors from before.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So like,
well,
yeah,
I'm actually just gonna pause this now just because we have only like 2+ minutes left in the meeting and we have a couple other topics to try to get to if we can. But I think we should have a perhaps a dedicated follow-up where we look at SDK users, especially Flux, for example, and other like very heavy SDK users, and make sure that we're all good.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. George, do you want to? I think you're the last agenda item.
So these were
Oh, I'm
the
so
things I
sorry. I'm
mentioned
so sorry.
earlier.
I skipped Matt. Yeah.
That's right. I'll give the quick update. So we had get Helm.sh went out yesterday. That was just related to Microsoft's massive outage because their infrastructure is used for delivering the Helm releases. And so that was the root cause of it. I won't dig down into the details here because we're short on time. But that ultimately was it. And that's why it fixed when their outage was fixed.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, George.
Yeah, also very quickly, these are just things I mentioned earlier for the PRs to adjust the Get Helm release fetching. So Get Helm 3 will fetch Get Helm 3. There'll be one further change needed to make. We have a latest version which will need to move from the dev v3 branch to the main branch when we make Helm 4 the latest version. So one more PR is still needed, but this stops breakage, these two.
I'm gonna have a question about Canary builds, but I think we might have to push that off until
Canary builds have always just been the latest. So they've been Helm version 4 for quite a while. Helm version 3 has not had Canary builds in a long time.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know why
latest is the latest actual release. It excludes
Yeah.
pre-release.
Yeah,
Not
and
so-
Canary is the most recent build from Maine.
Lovely. Okay, great. Okay, so we are gonna go right to assignments. Who wants to be moderator for next week? Anyone?
I
Anyone?
believe I can.
Awesome.
I haven't done it for a while, so I'll volunteer at least.
And notes? I can do them. Issue triage for this next week.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, and I'll be doing some issue triage and pull request triage, especially now that we're in the release candidate phase.
Ditto.
Awesome. Did it for me too, or did it for me on the PR review anyway. And then PR review. Is that
I'm always on that. Yes.
Yep. Okay, and at least those core maintainers can be present. Scott and George, any other core maintainers who know they can be present next week?
I should be here. Yes.
Awesome. All right, well, it hasn't reached 101 yet, so we're
Well,
still within bounds, I guess. Oh, sorry,
are we
did we have
planning
a-
to cancel the call during KubeCon week?
We normally do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay. I will make sure there's a note on the date that we will skip that meeting.
Thank you so much, Karen. Awesome. All right, well, thanks everyone, and we'll see you on Slack in the meantime, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Matthias, yeah, we